What's up, Phase Zero BD here, and I have survived Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. This video is a completely spoiler-free take on the film. There will be a number ranking at the end of the video, so stick with us to see my official rating of the film, where I land on it right now. This is going to be completely spoiler-free. I'm not going to give you story points. I'm not going to give you anything about the major moments in the film, but I will talk about the themes. I will talk about the characters. I will talk about the general journey, but I will not ruin anything for you in this video. I can promise you that. It's all a secret until you go see the film, and if we see it in the comment section, we will delete it. So hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment with what you're excited for, which characters you're excited for, and your thoughts on my thoughts in the comment section below, and let's jump in. First of all, I got this really cool pint glass at the after party last night, and I just wanted to shout that out. I think this is really, really cool. But that's not what this video is about. This video is about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. The trilogy is complete, and the trilogy is complete in brilliant fashion. The movie, I don't think the movie's perfect, and I don't think I can put it ahead of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1, maybe because that movie has such a special place in my heart, maybe the time I watched it and the path it put me on, the way it made me fall in love with these characters, and the way everything was so brand new, really just puts it above almost everything else for me. But I do think Guardians Volume 3 might actually just be a better movie. The same way you'd say, like, Infinity War is a better movie than Endgame, but Endgame was a better theater experience. Like, maybe Guardians 1 is my theater experience that I just cherish so much, and Guardians 3 I can recognize has such a fantastically told story. That said, it's not perfect, but it is really, really good, and I've spent time thinking about it before jumping on here to talk about it, and I was like, okay, the more I think about it, the more I really, really like it. It really has made me feel like, wow, this is a smart, great, the stakes are, it's a good movie. Rocket Raccoon is hands down the main character. He's the heart of the film. He's the driver, and it's a wonderful story. In fact, Rocket's story in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 improves the entire story of Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2. When you watch those movies after watching this one, it's going to change the way you feel about a lot of beats in those films. I think Rocket, the work that Bradley Cooper did, you know, with Rocket's voice is great, but also just visually Rocket's great. The story James Gunn wrote for Rocket is tremendous, and it's the heart of the film, and Rocket is hands down the standout character of this film for me. The others who stood out to me were Nebula and Drax. I thought both of them had brilliant, brilliant moments, really heartfelt moments, and Karen Gillan and Dave Bautista really did a tremendous job with those roles. And another thing, James Gunn on the writing just really knocks their roles out of the park. Mantis and Star-Lord are really good. They're certainly supporting characters. In this one, it feels like Rocket is the main character. Gamora is very interesting. I don't want to say anything more than that. I can't wait to talk in full on the podcast we're going to do the Friday of release, which, by the way, Cam Heyward is joining. So it's going to be a 5-person pod, full spoilers reaction to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 on Phase Zero podcast platforms and right here on the channel. Adam Warlock, I thought, was definitely underserved. A character that we've waited so long for, that it seemed James Gunn had really grand plans for. Fits into the film, but doesn't feel necessary to the film. Will Poulter's good in the role, but it's not I don't know, maybe I had a different expectation for Adam Warlock than what we got. He's very much a kid. He's very much kind of a humorous point in the film. It wasn't what I wanted for the character, and I felt like his story just kind of ended up being put in there and didn't feel as naturally in place as the rest of the characters did in the film. But speaking of things I didn't expect, honestly, I don't know what I expected from the story and the emotions. I know I had a lot of expectations for the emotional beats. They exceeded my expectations, but they also were completely different from what I expected. The way that the emotions hit you in this film, the way that James Gunn enriches the characters and uses that to really sometimes rip your heart out and sometimes fill your heart up, is tremendous. The emotions in this film, they all worked for me. I definitely was crying multiple times, and I loved it. I thought the way that it added so much depth to the character and to the world that they're living in, and to what they stand for and what they want and what they go through with each other and what they mean to each other, was just brilliant. I really, really loved that aspect of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. The story as a whole also kind of caught me off guard, and also the pacing of the film. Like, sometimes I'd start to sit there and I'd be like, okay, let's get it moving again. And then a moment later, we're laughing hilariously. A moment later, we're in an action-packed sequence. Also, one of the best Guardians of the Galaxy action sequences late in the film. There is a shot. You'll know when you see it. I won't say anything more than that because you'll know what I'm talking about when you see it. There is a scene in this film, and there might be scenes along the way where you're like, is that what BD was talking about? Is this the scene he was talking about? No. You will know when you get to this scene. There is a really cool action sequence where each character in the scene gets their moment to shine and kind of show how they work together, and it is awesome. It is really, really cool. It might be the best Guardians of the Galaxy action sequence from all 3 films. I don't want to make that claim. It might be. I don't want to speak in hyperbole just yet. I got to watch the movie again, but it's really awesome. The villain of the film, the High Evolutionary, very much a villain. I very much hate that guy. Chukwudi Iwuji did a fantastic job with the role. I do kind of wish some story points of the High Evolutionary had been a bit more planted in 1 and 2 along the way. Granted, Rocket's story was kind of seated in there and stuff like that, and that's just kind of like looking for criticism. The only thing I think could have made that story even better, I thought the story of the High Evolutionary, the way they did it, really worked for this film. That said, I obviously just, as a connectivity snob, they couldn't have done it. They would have had to cast Chuck Woody in the role 10 years ago. So that's just how this thing goes. That's just me being a snob about it. I thought the role worked really, really well. I thought the villain worked really well. I don't want to say more than that. Okay? The events of the first 2 Guardians, the events of the holiday special, the events of Infinity War and Endgame, they're all present in the film. So as a Marvel fan, you really do get rewarded for taking this journey with the Guardians. And at the same time, they definitely made this accessible if it is somebody's first Guardians movie. Like, you're not going to get as much out of it as the people who have been on this ride and watched those other 5 titles. But if you're watching it for the first time, you will get it. And if you've watched it all, it really enhances it and tells such a perfect ending. The ending of the movie is, I can't think of a better way to have ended this one, this trilogy. Just tears. It's great. I think the ending is brilliant for the trilogy as a whole, not just this movie. I just think it's a great finish. And as a person who loves these characters very much, and as a person who, like the Guardians of the Galaxy is, this movie was definitely the post-Endgame movie I've been looking forward to the most, more than Spider-Man, more than Shang-Chi, more than Kang Dynasty or Secret Wars. Like, Guardians 3 was the one I was looking forward to. And I think my expectations were so sky high that I feel like I don't know if it met them, because my hopes and dreams for this movie were exceptional. But I left so satisfied with the film, and the more I think about it, the more I like it. It's a brilliant conclusion to this trilogy and this journey we went on with these characters starting in 2014. Overall, I mean, I'm putting this movie, it's got to be above a 9. It's close to a 10 out of 10. It's a very high score movie for me. It's one of my top MCU movies. I got to see it again before I can determine if it's like ahead of Guardians of the Galaxy 1, Iron Man, The Winter Soldier, Endgame, Infinity War. It's in that conversation for me. That said, I recognize I just saw it. It's new. I want to see it again. I want to digest it. As time has passed, I've liked it more. So maybe it will rise in those rankings. Maybe it'll kind of stay right where it is. But it's certainly in the top half, top 25%, somewhere up there. It's a high-ranking film for me. I just need to see it again. Right now, I think it's number 2 in the Guardians trilogy for me. It's definitely better than Volume 2. I don't know if I like it more than Volume 1, but I do think it might be a better movie, if that makes sense. Overall, I'm sitting at like a 9.4 out of 10 right now with it, which I'd say is pretty good. I really, really liked it. I recognize it wasn't perfect, but damn, it worked for me for the most part. I had to do this add-on, actually. I reviewed the video that I finished, and I was like, hold on, there was something I left out. And the weight of the movie, it's heavy and it's dark. Like, the emotions are heavy, and not only visually is it dark at times, but James Gunn did not shy away from almost having a couple of like horror-like elements in the film, involving animals and just really some tough stuff to watch that is just, it works for the film. It's stuff that made me enjoy the film because of how visceral it was, because of the emotional response it got out of me. But it is some heavy stuff. I think that for kids, there's some stuff in here that might be a little scary. There's a bit of violence. There's an F word. So if you're one of the parents who wants to know, can I take my kid to this? Can I take, my 12-year-old to watch this? It's a bit more intense than what we usually expect from Marvel Studios. For me, I appreciate that. I was 15 years old when Iron Man came out. I'm not 15 anymore. It's been 13 years since Iron Man came out. To me, the audience has grown up, and I've grown up, and it works for me, and I really like what James Gunn did with this. But for families who have little kids, there is some stuff in Guardians Volume 3 that might be a little bit overwhelming. I mean, almost in like an Indiana Jones kind of way. But yeah, I don't want to say more than that and spoil anything, but there is a bit of intense language and violence, but it's nothing crazy, but it's a bit more than what we usually get from Marvel. What are you looking forward to in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3? Did you like this review? Smash the thumbs up button, as YouTubers say. Hit the subscribe and drop a comment and let us know which character you're most looking forward to spending more time with in their swan song that is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. We'll have a full podcast breaking it down with spoilers. It'll be on video here on the YouTube channel and available on all major podcast platforms with special guest Pittsburgh Steelers' own Cam Heyward joining us on the program. So thank you so much for following the channel. Thank you so much for supporting us, helping us all go out and see the film in the first place. You can see Jamie, Aaron, and my reactions are all on Twitter and more of the comic book staff, and go to comicbook.com/Marvel for lots and lots of Marvel news and all the interviews and all sorts of stuff that we will be having exclusively out of the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 junket, and the things we're supporting that many of our colleagues are the great pieces of work, the interviews that our colleagues are going to do that we're going to support on the site as well. So thank you so much, everybody, and Good luck getting through this movie. I hope you enjoyed it. I can't wait to see what everybody thinks.